you want to parade them? How do you want to do it?
Just how together. All I'm gonna do is see what you
Yeah, everybody's different.
Classes, he'll like let the one come in, and they will talk about it, and he'll probably talk about all of it.
you can bring a single deal on, you know.
Oh, that's what they're going. That's what I'm going to line them up.
But if you start coming in, I'd bring him in. If I don't have him, you go stop it.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Hey, Ray, is there going to be a break between the goat and the sheep show at all? I just was wondering about, like, as far as getting it ready.
Usually we try to give them
15 to 20 minutes? Okay.
we'll announce it.
Okay. Well, I'm really terrible at writing it in the word tricky, so I just thought I'd ask before.
Y'all, is that alright after the showmanship or goats has a 10 to 15 minute
Yes,
break?
at least 15, at least between the doe or the brothers. Yeah, I think they need a break after the weather goes.
Yeah,
Do
showmanship.
that.
Showmanship.
Oh, showmanship's last, yeah.
Before your sheep start.
I think I did like it, yeah, you need a break. It makes it hard to do that transition. Yeah. Hello. We're just gonna wait so we don't mess up more words. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna talk on it and tell me which mic it is.
Test, test.
Okay, we're good.
Well, good afternoon, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here and you having me and the chance to work with your kids. I take that as an honor and a privilege every time I get the chance to step into the ring and evaluate the livestock, and more important, I get to work with the youth. And so just appreciate that. And I hope that this is indicative of what we see throughout the day, because I think when we get in this class, it's a class that's logical. I think that lines up relatively easy in my mind. But maybe more importantly than that, I think we found a really good one to lead off. I think this doe kid is one that you really have to appreciate just in terms of her basic build. When you talk about the fundamental basics from the ground up, that one's extremely good in terms of her feet and legs. She gets them out on the corners, everything points square in the right direction. She's a doe kid that's still rounding up in the center of her body. She's got some shape and muscle up high. She's probably maybe a little further back in terms of maturity compared to one or two in here, but that one's still just body and balance and presence today just kind of overwhelms this class. Young lady's doe that's going to be second there. One that you really like the way that one's made up through the front third of her skeleton. Her shoulders laid in are really neat. Her chest floor's tucked up. One that's long and extended up through her neck and her front end. A doe that doesn't disappoint you in terms of her handling qualities, particularly up on the top side of her skeleton. A doe that wants to get a little bit shorter and steeper and rounder in her hip than what I deem to be ideal. I like to stouten her up at the surface in terms of her feature. Young lady's doe is going to be next. A lot of the same things. I see that doe being tall-fronted, long-bodied. A doe that's still feminine up to her front end. A doe, I'd like to reconstruct her maybe in terms of her structure. She wants to get too straight constructed up through her front end. It gets a little bit over in her knee. She wants to straighten up out of her hop just a little bit more than I'd like. And again, I think she needs to open up with more power and dimension when you study her down through her base of her body and her skeleton there as she goes to the ground. Young man's doe that's going to be on the far side there, one that probably has the advantage in terms of depth of body and roundness. That one to me just gives up a little bit in terms of her look and her presence from the side. She gets a little bit coarser and deeper to her chest. She's shorter and rounder in her hip. She needs to be better off of her hip and hind leg as well. She goes away. But a good class. Congratulations to all these exhibitors.
Congratulations. First place is Bo Seal. Second place, Lauren White. Third place, Lauren White. Fourth place, Chase Chapman. Be ready for class 2.
another good class again, and I think that I found one to lead off with in my mind. I think just kind of puts maybe together what some of the others really offer, and just in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. I think the Doe kid, the young man that leads off, is just one to me. When you study her again in terms of her structural build and her integrity as she goes, I think she's easily the one that comes out and steps out the squarest off both ends. She's the one that's stoutest at the ground in terms of her features and her bone. And when you start to study her from a balance standpoint, she probably comes together from a skeletal design standpoint as good as any of them in class, from the way her shoulders laid in her and it's angled right, but still feminine up through her front end. She's tall at the point of her shoulders, and then to go along with it, that one's got plenty of muscle and shape and roundness to the center of her skeleton, but she has a very comfortable place to go. I probably thought our closest decision lied between second and third. I see these two a little different, and I wouldn't argue if you wanted to change them. I think the young lady's Doe that's in second, probably when you get your hands on them, that one's as true in terms of shape and muscle as any of them in class. One that's really square up to the top side of her skeleton, one that's really wide and bold, just through the center of her rib and how she has that outward turn. She maintains that advantage as she goes out. She's stout and wide. She still probably has the advantage over a third place when you watch her go away from you, just in terms of width there. I think a Doe, though, if I'm going to be critical of her, I'd like to see her, one, just bigger in her kind. Two, I'd like to reconstruct her up through her shoulder and just recess her back in her knee just ever so much. But a nice Doe that's certainly got some good pieces that you have to appreciate about. Young man's Doe that's going to be third. That one is taller at the point of her shoulders. That one needs to be later in her maturity pattern than, to me, a Doe that's still extended up through her front end. You have to really like that in terms of the way her front end has matured and the way her shoulders laid in her. A Doe to me that wants to just round out of her hip is too much for me. Consequently, with that, she gets her hind leg up underneath her. She needs to be stouter at the ground just in terms of her bone and foot size. The red Doe that comes in fourth, another good Doe. I think this is a really good class, deep from top to bottom. That Doe is really striking from the side just in terms of her presence. One that's really tall up through the front of her shoulder. She's extended. She's one that's made neat down through the lower part of her body and her shoulder and her femininity from that standpoint. There just needs to be more power, more goad into that one when I get in from behind. I just like to open her up and just give her more integrity to the center of her body. But a really good class, very deep here from top to bottom. Congratulate to all these kids.
Congratulations to our Class 2 winner, Cooper Jones. Second place, Ashton Gamble. Third place, Cooper Jones. Fourth place, Ashton Gamble. Be ready for Class 3.
Hey girls, Cooper was first.
Maddie was showing his second. And Bo was showing Ashton's second.
Yes. It was Cooper, Ashton.
Okay. First place, 74. Second place, 68. Yes. And 78 was third.
very good class. Again, one that certainly has some depth here from top to bottom. I think probably one of our closer decisions that we've had, particularly on the top end, is when we study these two that stand first and second. And I think when you sort those two, they're a little differing in terms of their kind. And I think both of them offer some quality. I think when you start out, both of them are certainly good in terms of their feet and legs and the way they get out and go. I really think what separates them is when you get down on top of them and you just look at true substance, true mass, true width, true round or rib shape there. And that's certainly the advantage that the young man's doe that leads off. That one is really opened up and thick and wide, really square out to the top of her hip. And yet still extended up to her neck. She's made good through her shoulder. I think just a complete kind of female. Just really hard to pick major holes in to lead off our class. The young lady's doe that's going to be second there. I really like that doe just in terms of her basic build. Again, she's very similar to our class winner from a standpoint of the way her skeleton's laid in. One that's recessed in her knees. She's good in terms of the angle of her blade, and yet she's good in terms of the hop and her stability when she goes. I think that one doesn't disappoint you again from a balance standpoint. It's just when I get down and study her right on the top side of her skeleton in terms of just true shape, true mass, roundness of rib, one that's just a little bit flatter through her forearm in relation to that one that leads off. But a nice kind of doe to be second there. No doubt maybe the powerhouse one that's the heaviest muscle lies here in third. And that one, when you don't have to get your hands on her to see the extreme amount of shape and thickness that she offers, very open to the center of her body, one that's really stout when she goes to the surface. She just needs to be better out of her front end. I'd like to change her through her shoulder and her knee there just a little bit, relax her skeleton from that standpoint. You do that, and that one certainly gets a lot more competitive in this class. Young lady's black-headed doe that's going to be next. A doe kind of similar to the one in front of her. One that's round and cylindrical to the center of her body. One that certainly meets your hand with enough shape and muscle up high. Doesn't disappoint you there when you go and get behind her. She too wants to get a little bit straighter up front. Maybe more importantly than that, I'd like to just stouten her at the ground. She needs to be bigger footed, heavier bone, just need to be stouter featured in overall makeup. The doe that's going to be next, one that's really extended and made neat up through her front end, really good in terms of her shoulder and the way her chest is laid in her. A doe that still offers muscle shape. A doe that to me just gets too straight off both ends for me. I'd like to relax her through her shoulder and her knee. I'd like to give her more set, more angularity to her hop, just make her more comfortable as she goes to the surface. And again, I think she gets more competitive in this class. The doe that's going to be next, one that is probably softer and sounder footed than the one ahead of her. A doe that certainly has some body depth to her. A doe wants to get a little bit flatter to the center of her skeleton. She too needs to be heavier bone, bigger featured there. And I think to stouten her up, and she certainly could see a spot or two higher. But a good class. Congratulations to all these exhibitors.
Class 3 winner is Tyler Shove. Second place, Mackenzie Ladd. Third place, Kaylor Lingle. Fourth place, Kaylor Lingle. Fifth place, Aiden Boren. And sixth place, Layla Chapman. Layla.
Sit right here, and I'll do the sheep show. She's in the house. She's not very happy with this. Right? She doesn't even know how to get upset.
Oh my. You don't know how to be mad. Never mad. You ain't married yet, right? You don't know how to be mad. Softer side.
Because they would say,
Right there. City Sleeping Halls. Can't do that. 347 is still up there. Can't wait for the stock show to start. I know. We're here, but he wants that. I do. That could be right.
Very good class, really deep here, and I think a really a nice pair of does to stand first and second. And I think some things you can just really make a case maybe for both of them. This one that leads off in terms of her symmetry and how she's built in squareness down the top side of her skeleton, the way her shoulder comes in really neat and supple up through her neck, and the way the femininity that she offers. Then she just works into a great big rib. She's really round from the center of her skeleton, one that's stout in terms of her features, she's stout in terms of her bone. Is she pushing the limit up in terms of her shoulder and the way her knee is laid in her? I'll be honest with you. She's getting pretty close from that standpoint. She's pointing a little bit rock forward for me, but I think to go along with it, there's just so much there in terms of the balance, that look, the power. I think you want to call that one close. That one wins in my mind. Young Man's Doe is going to be next. Really like that one from just a balance standpoint. That one's really neat in terms of her flat and her smoothness and angularity all the way through. Probably is the best on her feet and legs if you just get them out and let them go. At times she does want to turn out just a little bit up on her front left, but that's been real critical of one that's, I think, really good in her own right. I just think that probably the difference between you get in to study those two, there's just so much more to the Young Man's Doe that leads off our class, just in terms of internal dimension, width, mass, skeletal design. I think that's where the separation lies between those two. Young Man's Doe is going to be third, one that's a little different than the two that come out ahead of him. That one is big in her kind. That one's big-footed, heavy bones. She's stout from that standpoint. She's got some pieces that you really have to appreciate. The Doe is a little bit more deceiving for me. When I get down on top of her and get my hands on her, I think she's a distant third in those top three, just in terms of true width and mass and shape of muscle. I think she's one that gets a little bit shallower through her forehead and flank there. It's like to soften her, giving her a softer look, a little broodier look to me. And I think that you do that, and that changes her balance maybe a little bit better. One to me that still offers some wow factor and some pieces that you have to appreciate. Young Lady's Doe that's going to be fourth. The painted doe here to this big body. Wow, and in terms of her broodiness and her look, she just looks like a big female that's ready to go out in the pasture and produce. A doe that's still good in terms of her feet and legs and the way she gets up and goes. A doe that just gets a little bit plainer in her look. For me, I'd like to particularly fix her out of her hip, pick her up in her tail head, lengthen her out in her hip just a little bit, and that fixes her balance for me. If you do that, she can certainly get a little more competitive with the ones out ahead of her. The doe that's going to be in fifth there, a tall-fronted individual that's very feminine in her design, a doe that's still good in terms of her balance and the way she's made, a doe that just needs more to her, just in terms of mass and dimension there to be more competitive. Some of that can be said for this doe that comes in next. Doe that is probably stouter at the ground in terms of her bone and her foot. A doe to me that you like the depth of body that she offers. She needs to be reconstructed just a little bit through her shoulder and out of her hip, just square up from that standpoint. She probably needs a shot more power and muscle, true muscle, to be more competitive with the ones ahead of her. But a very good class, the deepest one we've seen thus far. Congratulations to our kids.
First place is Tress Castle. Second, Tyler Schoaf. Third, Brantley Jones. Fourth place, Rosalind Sander. Fifth place, Ashton Gamble. Sixth place, Brylan Black. Be ready for class 5. First place winners need to be getting ready to come to the cell ring to get ready for the grand drive.
Another really good class again, and we get pretty competitive here on the top end. Young lady's black-headed doe that leads off. I think one that just puts a lot of good things together in my mind. A doe that's really super wide and powerful when she goes, coming and going. She's opened up to her chest floor. She leaves with that same kind of width, but yet she's certainly accurate in terms of her feet and legs and the way she puts them down. And still a doe that when you look at her from the side, that one balances really good. Her shoulders made right. She's good in her top line. A doe that's square out to the top of her hip. You put your hands on that one, and she's probably as true as any of them in here, just in terms of width and roundness to the center of her body. A nice doe to lead off our class. Young man's doe that's going to be second. That one is pretty striking from the side as well. I like her lines. I like the way that she's made in her top line in relation to that underline and the way her flanks laid in her. She's really good from that standpoint. She's correct in terms of her hip and hind leg. You have to appreciate that about her. She too, I think one of the biggest things, the difference between those two does is when I get my hands on them and just study them down to the center of their skeleton. There's just so much more to that black-headed doe than the young man's doe in second. And that's the biggest thing that separates it. That's an awful good pair to stand first and second. The doe that's going to be third certainly has some pieces that you like. One that's wide top. She's really spread good down the top side of her skeleton. Maintains that thickness when you get in and study her from behind. A doe that's certainly good in terms of her hind leg and her posture from that standpoint. I'd like to just change her from a balance standpoint and the way she's made through her front end. I think she's one that wants to get a little bit lower time there in her neck. Just doesn't sit quite as smooth. At times she gets a little bit out there in her breastplate. I just don't think she balances particularly up through her front third of her skeleton like we see the two that go out ahead of her. Young lady's doe that's going to be fourth. Another sound-footed doe that's got some structural, she's got some width to her. One that to me, I think when you just study her, just in terms of her basic build, she just gets a little bit plainer to me. She gets a little bit lower-headed, a little shorter neck, and one that's a little shorter and steeper in her hip, but one that's functional and good as she goes. The young lady's doe that's going to be fifth, a deep body, broody kind of female here. When you appreciate the skeletal extension that she offers, she gets a little easier in her top, a little bit more refined in terms of her features, but a good class all the way through. Congratulations to all these kids.
Class 5 winner is Kaylor Lingle. Second place, Trace Castle. Third place, Kenlyn Lingle. Fourth place, Mackenzie Ladd. Fifth place, Rosalind Sander. We'll be getting ready for our Class 6. Class 1 winners need to be making their way to the arena for the grand drive.
Good job, good job. Shine, sparkle. Sparkle, sparkle. Go ahead and just have a quick, this one's for the girls. What Diamond has experience here. She's a signer, she can sign.
The painted doe that leads off our class. I think, again, one that balances better. I think one that's certainly better from a structural standpoint. She's more relaxed in her skeletal dimension, her design. when you see her go, and then when she gets her parked, she's one that's more correct in her angles, she's correct in her joints there from that standpoint. Her doe that's still got some body and some muscle shape to her, she's round body, just a really complete kind of female to really off this class. The lady's doe is going to be second. She's stout-featured, heavy bone, one you really have to appreciate that, the ruggedness, the openness to the center of her body. Lots of width and mass there. That one just needs to be better just in terms of her structural build. I'd like to relax her in her spine just a little bit when she goes. Get more angularity up front, make her softer, more flexible at those rear two as well. But a stout body, powerful doe, you really have to appreciate some things about it. Congratulations, these two young ladies.
Grand Champion Doe Goat, sponsored by S&M Waterwells Services, Camargo, Oklahoma, and the Reserve Grands, sponsored by Steve and Dima Ogden. Following the grand drive, we will line up for potential sale order. If you have a doe goat, have it ready. We will line this up very deep. We intend to line up every doe goat for potential sale order, so if you have a doe goat, have it ready to go.
You had a really good doe show. I think quality's been very good here from top to bottom. I think you can have a lot of these that go on to the next level or a bigger venue and certainly be competitive and stand where they are today. Testament to these kids and whoever's helping them with their projects, doing a very, very good job. And along with that said, their hair is good. You can tell that they've been taken care of, just the basics at home. And so as a judge and an ag teacher, I really, really appreciate that as well. I'm not going to go through and talk each and every one of them. We've got a lot to do today. I can tell you, I like animals to be unique. I think I want them to be the ones that are kind of hard to make and hard to build. I want them to be out there close to, on the edge, but still be acceptable. And I think that that's important to me. I think that we have to be progressive in what we do. And I really think it kind of boils down between a pair of them out here. I think one that just suits me is very striking just in terms of their balance, their squareness, their symmetry. One that offers a tremendous amount of shape and power when you get in on them. Really, really fresh today. I think just an awful good female. Congratulate this young man here out of our 4th class. He'll be our champion.
Champion Doe Goat exhibited by Trace Castle. Need Tyler Schoafs, 2nd place, class 4 in the ring.
We drop in that 2nd place out of that class, and that's another really high quality female that certainly doesn't hurt the mix at all. I think when get out here, I think that there was one that rivaled our class winner. Maybe not quite the wow factor that we've seen in areas, but one that's just really basic in her build and fundamentally good. Let's congratulate the young lady here at the black-headed doe. She'll be a reserve champion.
Taylor Lingle as your reserve champion, Doe Goat. Bring in Trace. Need Kindlin Lingles, 3rd place, class 5. Kindlin Lingles, 3rd place, class 5. Tyler Schoafs, 2nd place in class 4. Tyler, you can take your other lamb goat out. Need Brantley Jones, 3rd place, class 4. Mackenzie Ladd, 2nd place, class 3. Brantley Jones, 3rd place, class 4. Mackenzie Ladd, 2nd place, class 3. Kindlin Lingle selected. Need Mackenzie Ladd's 4th place, class 5. Mackenzie Ladd's 4th place, class 5. And class 6. Mackenzie Ladd is selected. We can take all of Mackenzie's goats out. Need Rosalind Sander, 5th place, Class 5. Rosalind Sander, 5th place, Class 5. And Aiden Bourne, 5th place, Class 3. Need Rosalind Sander, 5th place, Class 5. Brantley Jones is selected. Need Rosalind Sander, 4th place, Class 4. 4th place, Class 4, Rosalind Sander. Cooper Jones is selected. Need Ashton Gamble, 3rd place, Class 2. Ashton Gamble, 3rd place, Class 2. Bo Seal is selected. Need Lauren White, 2nd place, Class 1. Lauren White, 2nd place, Class 1. Ashton is selected. Pot still right. Rosalind Sanders selected. Rosalind, you can take both your animals out. Need Ashton Gamble's Class 4. Brendan Black. Need Brendan Black's Class 4, 6th place, Brendan Black. Class 4, 6th place.
Lauren, you're looking very sparkly today, I might add. Aiden, you don't look sparkly, but you're okay. I mean, you look okay. Not sparkly, but okay. Do you think you look sparkly? Oh, that was cold. Yeah, but I'm a cute girl. I'm that old man. Different. Stacy Kings.
Brendan Black is selected. Pot still right. Aiden Bourne is selected. Layla Chapman, please. Layla Chapman, Class 3, 6th place.
You gotta do whatever you're supposed to. Thank you, boys.
Lauren White is selected. Chase Chapman.
Nope. Hide her, Chase. You're all right. It's okay. You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Don't listen to me. I'm a moron. Give me a check.
Layla Chapman selected and Chase Chapman selected. That'll conclude the Doe Goat Show.
Joe Weathers first. I guess just go back here and see if they're ready or they need a break.
They asked for one earlier.
Okay.
think when you just study that one in terms of his basic build, he's stout at the ground. As you progress up to the center of his body, he's round, his turn's good, shapely, real shapely up high, still balances very well, great on his feet and legs. Great way to start out our weather show. Young lady's weather that's going to be second. That's another one that he's certainly not a slouch in his own right. Maybe a little bit further back of where he's at today, just in terms of maturity and in terms of just being more, not as open to the center of his skeleton. But that one's still made good. He's stout-footed. He's good at the surface. He's tall-fronted, long-bodied, and extended. Starting to offer good shape and muscle up high, just not quite the mass, the boldness to the center of his body and the shape as we see in our class-winning weather. But two really good weathers. Congratulations, these young ladies.
H2, warn us so we can get.
Winner, Class 1, Catherine McLean. Second place, Kaylor Lingle. Now have Class 2 entering the ring. Madeline McLean, Hudson Bourne, and Ashton Gamble.
But remind me again, you said this. Had Dr. Pepper, I don't drink Dr. Pepper. You get crazy. Once a month, maybe. Dr. Pepper, a handful of ibuprofen. This is going to be a good day.
Really good class, really good, nice pair of weathers in this class on the top end. And I think there's some differences between the pair that certainly you could make a case for. And I think the weather that leads off, just when you start studying him, just in terms of sheer shape of muscle, boldness to the center of his skeleton, the outward turn that he offers, just when you get in behind him and just see how explosive he is to the center of his body. And then as you go to the surface, that one's really big-footed, he's rugged, he's heavy bone, you like that. Still balances good from the side. I don't know if he's any bigger hip than the one that's in second there. One in second's really big hip, and set wide through her pins, really wide just in terms of width from stifle to stifle. That one really makes a case when you study him from the side. I like that one's elevation up front. I like that one's look from the side. He gets a little bit more straighter up through his knee and his shoulder than what you deem to be ideal. More importantly, I'd like to just open him up through his forearm in relation to that class winner. The painted weather that's going to be third, another one that's good in terms of his length of body, he's level and he's correct in terms of his design. He's extended through the front third of his skeleton. He just wants to get flattened, a little more plainer just in terms of his look. He's certainly the narrowest gauge when you study him from behind. But a good class all the way through. Congratulations, these exhibitors.
Winner, Class 2, Hudson Bourne. Second, Madeline McLean. Third, Ashton Gamble. We've just got a handful of weathers. We'll probably line each and every one of those up at the conclusion of this show, so please keep them handy. Class 3. Entering the ring, Hudson Bourne, Keelan Derrickson, and Madeline McClain. Well, Keelan Derrickson.
Look at the card, not the people. Stressing. Don't stress, Dad. Could be awesome. I mean, if you can do it, I'll do it.
Really, really tough class, and I think all three of these are really good, and taking nothing away from. So when you talk about one, you don't want to call this class and say you got last, you got third, because this is three really high quality weathers, and so I can imagine you can drive a lot of county fairs along the country and not see three quality weathers like this, and that'd be the only three in the class, and so my compliments to these kids, and so. I'm just going to tell you the way I like them. The young ladies that leads off, I think that one's just the most complete. And I think that one's still unique in terms of his build. When you talk about one that just stout from the ground up, not only his foot size, but his bone, his forearm, his joints are really good. He's stout all the way through. And yet he's still flexible. He's still set back into his knee. He's got plenty of angle to his shoulder. And then when you get on top of him, that one is a man just in terms of beast, of muscle up high. He's thick and square when you get in from behind. Is he perfect? No. I mean, there's things that you might want to change about every one of them. But I think he's the most complete. I think he's unique. He's round to the center of his body. He just combines balance and muscle. Still very, very good on his feet and legs. The one in second, that's a tank in terms of muscle. That one is huge top and huge ended, really round body. I'll be the first one to tell you, if you just back up and look at him from this view, he's not the one that hits you the most with the wow factor. But that one's got a lot of good. He's very fundamentally sound on his feet and legs. He's super round bodied. Today, what detracts a little bit, he may be a tick full for me, and I'd like to relax him there in the middle of his top. But that one is so opened up. He's so wide and powerful body. I think just a little more tuning on that one and draw him up. You can really see more, but he'd be happy with him on down the line. The one that comes in third, from a profile view, he really resembles probably more our class winner, just in terms of his elevation up front, the way he's made in his lines, and he's still correct on his feet and legs. I think when you study him in relation to the two that go out ahead of him, though, he gives up the most in terms of shape from shoulder to hip. I think in these initial three, he is the flattest to his forerib, And when you just study him down low, I just don't think he has the integrity and the power of the center of his skeleton of the three that are two that go out ahead of him. But that's three really good weathers. Congratulations to all these exhibitors.
First and second place exhibited by Keelan Derrickson. Third place, Hudson Boren. Now have Class 4 in the ring. Taylor and Kendall Lingle.
Young lady over here right in front of me is going to lead off. And that one to me, when you just get your hands on that one again, he just really overpowers his partner out here just in terms of mass and width of the center of his body. He's really, really expressive just in terms of shape and muscle. Squares up really good out of his hip. He's one that's really big-footed. He's heavy boned. He's rugged in his design. I think a really nice goat to lead off our class. Young lady's weathered at second. That one's tall-fronted. He's long-bodied. You like the extension to the front third of his body. And that one doesn't disappoint you just in terms of shape and muscle. So when I get in, I study to the center of his skeleton and through his forehead. Maybe it's where I'd like to change him just a little bit and open him up and give him slightly more integrity to his body as we do in our class winner. That's two really good weathers. Congratulations, those young ladies.
First place, Taylor Lingle. Second place, Kendall Lingle. Now have our final class, Class 5, one head exhibited by Kendall Lingle. If you have a weather goat, have them in the make ready pen. We will show for grand weather goat at the conclusion of this class. Have all weather goats in the make ready pen.
The make ready. The make ready pen. That might be live.
Another one that comes in that you like, that the overall width and power, that one as he possesses in terms of rib shape, as he goes to the ground, he's plenty wide structured, he's stout featured, and yet still tall fronted, long bodied. Whether you might want to just change him in his top line just ever so much, maybe strengthening behind his blade there and pick him up in his tailhead, and being critical of one that you really have to appreciate a lot about. Congratulations, that young lady.
Class 5 winner, Kendall Lingle. Now show 4. Grand Champion Weather Goat, sponsored by Hedges Ag Service. Your Reserve Grand Champion Weather Goat is sponsored by CK Electric Co-op. And the Bronze Award is sponsored by Gore's Travel Plaza. Entering the ring, your class winners, Class 1, Catherine McLean. Class 2, Hudson Bourne. Class 3, Keelan Derrickson. Class 4, Kaylor Lingle. And Class 5, Kendall Lingle.
didn't take me very long to just pick it because I was like, no, I need a pole. I need a pole and a pig. No, I can pole. Girl. Thus far, I think we have always actually put a pole in. At least that's what I've been told. That one looks like a pole, and that one looks like a spot, etc.
Let's congratulate all of our goat winners. We didn't do this in the does, but our does and our whalers exhibitors that's been here today. A really good show. I say this with sincerity. I do get the fortunate amount to get to judge a lot of goat shows, and I don't know if I've been to a county show in a long time that the quality has been this deep and this good. And I would venture to say that about every one of them in here, you've got a chance to get a pull and get a ribbon at OIE. I mean, I think your goats are really that good. And it's just been decked all the way through. And so my compliments to these kids for first and foremost for the job that they do, because, you know, the effort that they put in, and for those dads and moms and grandpas and grandmas and ag teachers and whatever that's helping. I know that it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of financial means to get them where they look like this. And so I appreciate that. And I'm telling you that it's been a job well done on your behalf, because it's a tremendous set of weather goats. And so I'm not going to go again like the does, go back and talk each and every one of them. I just try to use the ones that I like, the ones that are unique, the ones that I think are really, really good. And I guess if I come out here, I'm going to give you the cliche. It doesn't really matter what size they are. I guess if there's a class for them that they're eligible to win, one I like the best is the lightweight. Congratulations, that young lady.
Congratulations, Catherine McLean, Grand Champion Weather Goat. Taylor Lingles, second place, Class 1, to show for reserve. Taylor Lingle. Keelan Derrickson is selected for reserve. We now need Keelan Derrickson's second place, Class 3 in to exhibit for bronze. Hudson Bourne is selected for bronze. Keelan, you can go out, please. Taylor Lingle with your second place, Class 1. Madeline McLean, second place, Class 2. Taylor Lingle, first place, Class 4, and Kendall Lingle, first place, Class 5. be right. Madeline McLean is selected. Need Ashton Gamble. Class 2, third place. Ashton Gamble, Class 2, third place.
What nominated? Okay.
Pot's right.
Yeah.
Pot's right.
That's what I was gonna ask you about. There's no why you called her. She wasn't second.
What nominated?
Yeah. You can't say.
Taylor Lingle is selected. And Kendall Lingles. Actually, we're good. That'll do it. Thank you. Take just a few minutes to let the kids get their animals back and set, and then we will have goat showmanship. Junior Goat Showmanship sponsored by the Bank of Western Oklahoma. These kids will earn a choice of some clothing items, and if you will, fill those out and return them to the announcer stand today, please.
getting her first class of showmanship. All four of these young ladies do an outstanding job, and I think they all have some potential here and start out good and have some things to grow on and to work with in terms of their showmanship skills to hone on. But just really appreciate them coming out and doing this, and I think all four of them had a very good start. For me, I think when you come out here and select the champion, I think that there's one that just maybe puts that little extra in that I like. Maybe not always set up perfect every time, but in terms of getting that presented where I like it and getting that head up where you like it and making that 90-degree ring awareness is excellent. Always knows what's going on. They're always fighting to get that animal set. Really, really important to me as a dad, as an ag teacher. Let's congratulate the young lady down here on this end. She'll be our champion junior showman.
Congratulations, junior showmanship is Catherine McLean. Our intermediate showmanship will be 7th through 9th grade, and that is sponsored by the Dewey County Abstract.
Again, a very good class, and bring four back individuals back out, and I think quality of showman is really good. I think you can tell the time and the effort that's spent with your animals. And so, and I think it gets difficult when you're selecting a showman winner, and you have to, have kids that are showing wethers and kids that are showing does at the same time. Parts of that's apples and oranges, and so to me, I try to base it upon how they really, show throughout the show, and it's important that when they come out here, I'm going to tell my students or my daughter, make sure you bring the one that shows the best in the showmanship drive, but essentially all day long, you have to get every one of them presented, and so I think there's a young person out here that's done that extremely well. This person is every time that they've hit the ring, I've always got a good look. The ring awareness is good. You can tell that the effort, the homework's been done from just not only the hair quality and attention to the does, but the way that they can get their weather set up. Just an excellent showman in my mind. That's the young man here, second from this end. Congratulations to him.
Congratulations to Trace Castle. Next, we will be doing our senior division, and that is grades 10th through 12th grade. That will be sponsored by the Pioneer Cellular. Following the senior showmanship, we'll be taking a 15-minute break before we begin the youth show.
we end up with our goat show, and I know we have to go through the sheep, but again, my compliments to these goat exhibitors and for the does and the weathers. A job well done. It's been a fun show to judge, just in terms of quality and what we've had out here. And not only that, but the quality of exhibitors that they've got their animals shown. We haven't seen a bad showman in the bunch. Just one, you can tell that there's been some time and some effort spent with all of these animals. And I really, really appreciate that. As we get out here, I think there's 2 or 3 of these kids really that can boils down to, and maybe you could justify using. I think showmanship is maybe even more subjective than evaluating the animals that they're presenting. I think it's just there's some things that are universal, but it's just a lot of it gets down to personal preference. For me, showmanship's not about pizzazz. It's just about getting your animal presented. And I guess that's my competitive nature coming out in me. I don't really care about who has the best stance or the way that they position. I just want to be able to see that animal and you give it to the best shot that you can. I think you see more and more of these goat shows that it's very, very important, not just to get them set up off from the side, but the walk is extremely important, because even in the weather deal, you're getting more and more of these guys that are wanting to judge them off the walk, and I like to do that myself. And so I think that that's just as much or just as important as getting the animal set up and presented there. I think that there's one for me that probably did the best job in terms of getting them set up out here and combining that with when they come in and they put them in motion. They don't really drag that animal. You can tell that animal stays with them. The presentation of keeping that animal presented as they go. And then when they get them parked, they just really do a good job. And sometimes if these animals aren't going to work and they're not going to set up, but to me the difference between a good showman and a great showman is the one that can overcome those adversities and get the job done. And so with that being said, young lady right here in the center, she'll be our champion senior showman. Congratulations to her.
Congratulations to our senior showmanship, Keelan Dirksen. We will begin our ewe sheep show at 4:30 sheep show.